good afternoon again. As a continuation to our talk a while ago, it's really tough to love someone who's doing the talk again. Maybe you would have wished somebody else was here, somebody more good-looking like Brother Danny. But here I am. Well, another 30 minutes of being a humble servant. So again, Brother Juan, Sister Teresa, welcome to this session about the Christian family. And to our members, most of you have heard the talk already, and like what Brother Mike has said, it's really nice to be reminded as well of the challenges that we face as a Christian family, and how beautiful it can become also if we're able to, get over those obstacles, right? So, we are reminded that because of the two commandments that we've been talking about, loving God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength, and loving our neighbor, the reward really is a beautiful family. Really, if we're able to love, doesn't mean that when we love every one of our neighbors, we marry all of our neighbors. But the fruit of this love is when we get into a happy married life, we are rewarded by a union by which God has blessed, and it is a Christian family that we're able to build for His kingdom, right? But the challenges that we face, especially these days, is really huge, especially as a Christian family. The Christian family is, we can say right now, is under attack. Do you believe so?
Yes.
Today, as an institution, the Christian family is under attack. The very basis of its stability is under attack from many different angles. As you've most probably heard, that there are a lot of movements with regards to some of the examples are the same-sex marriage, for example, and the homosexuals adopting children and building a family of their own. Those are challenges to what we know is a traditional Christian family, right? Yet we are faced with all these realities every day. When we turn on the news, when we read a newspaper, if you still read a newspaper, who reads a newspaper now? Maybe when you see it on your phone, right? Yeah, on your phone, right? It's very challenging, right? So let's see how we can try to face these challenges together. As you know, in the community, we help each other, and when we help each other, there's a better chance that we're able to come out stronger, right? Intact, or even stronger, right? So, do you want to be able to hear and see how we'll be able to defeat those challenges?
Yes.
Yes, of course, right? For this, we of course need to put ourselves on God's mind, right? And to follow His plan. Because we will never be able to solve these problems if we put ourselves in the minds of how humans think, right? How we as men think. Us as humans, we created all these problems. So if we are still in that same level of thinking, we're still going to keep on creating the same problems all over again. So it's saying here that we'd rather put our minds in the level of God, into God's thinking, into God's mind, so that we would be able to follow His plan for the family. So what is God's plan for the family? Right? God's plan for the family is very beautiful. Is very beautiful right from the start. And He has designed the family, the Christian family, as some sort of a basic unit of society, right? We've always heard that, right? And it is no accident that He designed it that way, right? It was meant to be like that from the very, very beginning, right? Right from the stories in Genesis, we know that the family is the basic unit of society. And the family is, of course, a place where we can have these beautiful children, our lovely wife, like for the wives, your handsome husband. Maybe you wish your husband is as good looking as that, but you're stuck with us. So you are to love us with all your heart.
No choice.
No choice. But look at this beautiful family. The Christian family is a place where we can teach these children. We can train these children. We can, of course, train our wife.
Good luck.
I was going to say good luck on that. But really, the beautiful design of God for our family is for us to be able to teach and train our children, because our children, they are our offsprings, and like us, we are the children of God. So He is mirroring how He loves us, and He wants us to do the same to our children, right? He wants our internal family, our Christian family, to be a place where we can say transmit wisdom and values in our family, right? What better way to transmit these things than in the family setting, right? Of course, there's school, right? Our children, they are exposed to their peers, but really, it is in the home where we are able to transmit wisdom and the values of life. The school is just there to help them learn things and grow a little bit in different sets of things, but really the value, especially our Christian value, ought to be transmitted in our unit, which is our family. Now, inside our family, we don't teach our children like a teacher, right? Teaching is not formal, right? It's like, when you teach your children, hey, come over here, and then you open your book. They don't do that, right? But teaching is rather informal, but it comes in day-to-day activities. So see, it's in those small little things that we are able to transmit these values on how we behave as parents. That is how we're able to transmit to our children, right? On how I behave as a father, that's how I'm able to show to my daughter how to respond to things, right? Maybe my wife, she is able to model for our daughter as well, especially it's mother-daughter or something like that, right? So it's in the daily interaction, the small things that happen in the home, that we are able to transmit these values. Do you believe so?
Yes.
It's not in the big lecture things. Like, the more you lecture the millennials now, especially the smaller kids, the more you lecture them, the more it goes out the other end. So now, really, teaching in the home rather becomes informal, and it becomes some sort of an activity that everyone participates in the family. But of course, before we're able to teach that, we are to also review our own values first, right? We need to review our own values and see the place of Jesus in our lives, because these are the values your children will learn. Do you believe so?
Mm-hmm.
And that is why it's important to do a little reflection sometimes. As we said a while ago, nobody's perfect, really, right? Especially the younger couples, of course, when we're just starting out with our married life. And we already have one child, and child is crying all through the night, and all those challenges, right? Sometimes you're going to set aside some of your values in favor of practical things, maybe, right? It's really wonderful for us to be able to reflect on our values, because those are the values that our children will see, and those are the values that our children will absorb, right? Right. Okay, so also inside that unit of the family, aside from transmitting values to our children, that unit is also a beautiful breeding ground for what? Beautiful breeding ground for leaders. Alright? So see how beautiful God's design for the family is? Inside the family, He's so designed it so that we would be able to practice, to become leaders in our community. Not in our secular community, but most importantly, in our religious community, in our community for the soul, so to speak, right? That is where we are able to train ourselves to become leaders. And in the family, I always like to look at this picture because this picture really says 1,000 words. The mother and the father, probably the father is leading the prayer. What a wonderful sight, right? Why? Because the third point is the family is a domestic church, right? The family is a domestic church. For the kids especially, this is their first experience of being in a church, right? And so like the church where we belong, there has to be some structure in the family as well, right? So what is the structure in the family? Inside this domestic church, the father are to be the priests in their family, right? So we, the dads, hello, we are to be the priests in the family. We are to present God to our family, right? It is our responsibility that we are able to bring God to the daily activities in our lives, in our plans, in the things that we want to do, on how we want our children to become, or what they will become eventually in the future, right? So we present God to them. And guess what? It's 360 degrees. We are also to present our family to God, right? We are the ones responsible for showing our prized possession, which is our family. We will present it before God. So if we're going to present something to God, we want it to be beautiful, right? We want it to be nice. We may not be perfect, but we want to be able to present something that is pleasing to God, right? But with all these things happening in our society, all these things, of course, they're difficult to do, right? God's plan for the family, for it to become a venue where values are transmitted, for it to be a venue where leaders are trained, and for it to be a venue to become a domestic church, guess what? Nowadays, it's really being challenged, right? And that plan is not happening. It's not happening. It's very, very difficult to do that. It may be happening in certain degrees, but really, it's a challenge, right? We're all more or less couples here, and we have families. It's really a challenge, especially nowadays. Especially maybe with those with younger kids. Maybe the millennials most especially. It's a tough thing to do. The question is, why? Why is it not happening?
Let's face that.
Somebody is so confused. Right? Why is God's plan for the family not happening? Despite all the facts, despite the fact that we pray, we go to church, we try our best. It's so hard, right? Why? One, God has lost centrality in our family. For some families, God is no longer the center of their lives. Maybe it's work. Maybe it's television. Maybe it's
Cell phone.
cell phone.
What are you doing?
He's taking notes.
Facebook. Taking notes, yeah. Parents no longer bring up their children right? In the discipline and instruction of the Lord. Some of us, parents, will bring up our children by way of the social norm. What is accepted in the society, that's how we bring up our children. Sometimes we as parents, we succumb to the pressure of being accepted by other parents in our society, because our children will say, oh, my classmates' dad, they allow my classmate to do this and do that, right? So sometimes we lose footing and we no longer bring up our children in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. Some parents look to psychology as a source of wisdom for raising their children. An example of this is that on the terrible twos, the kids, the toddlers, will normally say no, right? So some parents would say, instead of saying, oh, eat your vegetables, of course they will say no, they turn to reverse psychology and say, oh, do not eat vegetables, it's bad for you. Then the children eat vegetables. But guess what? It sends a wrong signal, really, to them. Right? Husbands and wives do not follow God's order for them. Many examples on these things. Because when we were joined in our marriage, we were supposed to follow some sort of order, right? But sometimes in our daily lives, we trade off some of these things for the conveniences of lives, right? For example, we lose track in our faith because maybe we're too busy. Not that working is bad, right? But there are times when the husband and the wife do not even see each other anymore because they are, always working, and when the other one is home, the other one is out, right? And there is so much stress on, materialism, right? And when the focus is on materialism, guess what? That first word becomes true. You really get stressed because of your focus on materialism. Because nothing is ever enough. Nothing is ever enough. You will continue to strive to get more material things, right? And because of that, the family loses its importance because we tend to focus already on some other things. Do you believe so?
Yeah.
So this is a tough challenge. Very, very tough challenge. Through the years, many of our responsibility in the family, they've been taken over by other groups in society, right? Say, for example, as a parent, sometimes we rely on the daycare, we rely on the school, we rely on other organizations, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, or any other organization. Not that they're bad, they are awesome. They are excellent. God bless them for what they do. But again, the father, the mother, especially the father, the priest, and in the family ought to be able to function, again, going back, to transmit the values to the children and not the other groups in society, right? That's a tough challenge. This is what modern recreation facilities allow very little interaction among family members. Who among us while eating is on the cell phone? Right? Even when we are spending it with our children, we're still on our cell phone. Like when you go to the restaurant, for example, right? People are still on their cell phones. Are they talking to each other or what? Right?
They're texting themselves.
They're texting themselves, right? Right? Maybe that who's going to pay? Right? Not that technology is bad, but if we use it in the wrong way, we lose track of all the beautiful things in life. Because we no longer see our children trying to struggle with their first taste of whatever food because we're on our cell phone. Those are the little joys in life that we miss out because we are in these kinds of distractions. Right? A lot of modern recreation stuff, really. Not just TV, not just media, but a lot of other things really that's available to us right now because of the advancement in technology, right? The family has now become dispensable. That's okay because I'm doing this, I'm busy, I have work. But the modern life has become so fast that we forget the beautiful family behind us, right? And if we lose track of those things, what do we miss out? We miss out on relationships. That's what we miss out. We might have 1,000 friends in our Facebook, but our kids are not anymore talking to us, right? So we lose that opportunity to develop those relationships, right? So see how the family is under attack by evil forces, right? What can we do? This is very fast. We have to make a decision that in our family, we want God's plan to happen, right? And we give time and attention to the task of building a strong family, right? Let's put more effort into it. And the best way to be able to do that is to, number 3, pray together as a family. When you pray together as a family, that's it. That's a beautiful way to start a family that prays together, stays together. You know that, right? Right. Make prayer a common and daily occurrence in your family, right? It's hard, but maybe we can start it. Especially the fathers, the priests of the family, right? Fathers should take steps to assume full responsibility for the spiritual and material needs of the family, right? So us as priests in the family, we have to be able to tell them like, hey, wait, we're going to pray first before we eat or before we sleep. We have to pray first, right? Put that central in your family. We have to learn more about God's vision for our family. What does God really want for my family? What does He want? So maybe reflect on that, and you'd be able to decipher on what God really wants for your family. One thing is with the community is that if you're able to seek other Christian couples who share your concern, that is a very powerful thing. If you are struggling, if we are struggling in building our family, and then we are able to connect with other families who are suffering the same thing, it's a beautiful mechanism for us to be able to up each other, right? So seek other Christian couples who share your concern about family life and have an interaction with them. Because of that, we would be able to build a stronger family. Do you believe so? Mm-hmm. So, to summarize, in conclusion. So again, the family is under attack, right? So you believe so, that it is under attack, especially with the new social norms right now. Many things. A lot of things in society. So all we are to do is to pray so that we are able to guide our family, all right? And then, if you're able to put God back as central in our family, we would be able to lead our family to what God wants our family to be, the vision for our family, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. And most importantly, we are to take full responsibility in doing that. We are not to throw it around and give it to other organizations for our children to be trained into something, right? So, with all of this picture, again, like how we concluded a while ago in the other talk, how are we able to accomplish all these tasks? First, a while ago, loving a person who probably doesn't love you, loving a person who probably hates you, it's tough, it's very hard. Now, the family is under attack also. It's a very tough thing, it's a tall order, right? For us to be able to nurture our family towards God's plan. So like before, I hope you can see the pattern here, that with all things difficult, we are given by God the tools to be able to do it, right? Later on, again, very close now to the next module, you will understand that the Holy Spirit is indeed the one thing that we need to be able to do all these things, right? So loving our neighbors with that kind of love that we highlighted a while ago, very difficult. Loving God, the highest ideal in our Christian life, very difficult to do as well, right? Building a Christian family, very difficult as well. It's under attack. But with God's grace, we are able to build a Christian family. With prayers, the Holy Spirit, we are able to accomplish our God-given task of being able to build a Christian family.
Amen.
Amen.
With that, may God be praised.
Thank you, bro. Thank you again for giving us the talk. You know, again, it's very important when Brother Johan mentioned